You are not crazy. They really are trying to keep you from succeeding. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about what those things are that are preventing you, who they are in your life, and how to succeed in spite of them. So, first of all, let's start by diving right in. If you feel like you're playing by the rules, but you never seem to bust through that glass ceiling. Now, this is for men and for women. This is not just some sex thing. It is because there are genuine forces that exist that prevent most of us from being successful. And some of these things are habits that we've developed ourselves, and some of these are actually systems that are in place to benefit one group at the expense of another. And this isn't a rich poor thing at all. In fact, if you are poor, there are ways that you can get ahead that rich people may not be able to take advantage of as you start to think through those. So let's continue and look at how you might be able to get past this and who they are. So, first of all, what people are not willing to admit is that we are the ones letting them stop us because we quit trying to find a way. I've quoted this often. If you want something, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. So when you are approaching a problem of any kind, whether it's figuring out how to get your kids to and from school, if it's figuring out how to get to work when your car broke down, if it's figuring out how to find a job or pay your bills, whatever it is, do you let the problem and the difficulty stop you, or do you see it as an opportunity to make a workaround? I was actually listening to a teacher just a few days ago, and I wish I could remember who it was, but essentially they said something along the lines of, your success will be dictated by the level of challenges you're willing to overcome. That's not how they said it. They said it a different way, but it really tapped into something that I heard a couple decades ago when I was in my 20s and really stuck with me and has pushed me forward and brought me from poverty to success in a way that my schooling and those things didn't. So you have to understand, I worked really hard in school and I was, an honor student, but, low end of honors, like in the mid threes. I got A's, A minuses, B's. I got a couple of D's. I was terrible in math. Back then, now I'm great at it. But in college, something clicked and I managed to graduate with a 3.9 from the honors college. So I was like, I think when I graduated, I was like in the top 2%, which for someone that had struggled in school to reach that level of academic success was just mind blowing for me. My parents didn't go to college, and but they did teach me the importance of education. And so I applied that, but I had to learn workarounds all the time. I didn't even realize that the ACT and SATs were either that important or that you could prepare for them in some way. I thought you just walked in, sat down like an IQ test, you took the test, and it told you whether or not you got to go to college. So anyway, what I'm saying is, just because I didn't know how to do something didn't mean I let that stop me. I constantly looked for a workaround. And if you will do that, then despite these roadblocks that are put up in front of you, if you're one of the few that are willing to scale over, you can have great success. I was talking to a man who didn't do really well in like high school and didn't plan on going to college. And like in his 30s, he went back to college, and he was talking about in the field that he entered, you can make a lot of money, hundreds of dollars an hour. But he was telling me that the reason you can make so much is because the schooling that's required, so many people are not willing to make the sacrifice that it takes to get to that there's very few people at that level. So the need is great, but the number of people are few. And once you get past that one big hurdle, it's like wide open. And I really feel like it's that way in a lot of things. I'm seeing that now in real estate. Now I'm going to be doing a series of videos really practically to tell you what it is that I'm doing in real estate to try to be successful and bring in those streams of income I've wanted to bring in for a long time for my family. But When we mentally allow those people to stop us and we go, oh, it's stacked against me, this is too hard, it is. For the people who will look at it and go, it's hard, but that's how you're going to get past it. So here is how I encourage you to start on that process. One of the ways to change that practical is a practical mental scenario. So I, as a professional writer, used to run myself through a series of what ifs. And then I would back up and rethink the question and go at it another way and think about how could I have done things differently. So what it's kind of like a story problem we had in school. I know you might have hated story problems, but these really exercise your brain to fight past obstacles, because your brain itself, the organ inside your head, does not realize the difference between what you think and what you actually do. I've talked in videos way back months ago about how there was research done, and they found that people who threw a basketball, were doing free throws, basketball players who did free throws, versus those who sat in a room and visualized themselves going through and doing the free throw, were about the same in their success level. And I think under certain circumstances, I don't remember, I read the article. If you know what it is, put the article in the comments below. I'd love to have a link to that for people. But in some scenarios, the people who visualized it did better than the people who actually did it, because the people who actually did it saw themselves failing sometimes, whereas the people who only thought about it always saw themselves succeeding and always felt that success. So here's a sample scenario. Think about this. Imagine that you're a parent of teenage kids. You have a 16-year-old getting off work at 8 p.m. and the store where they're working closes. So basically they're working till close, and they're going to lock the doors and they're going to be put outside at 8 p.m. It's going to be dark, it's wintertime, and it's cold. Make it, around 30 or 40 degrees if you live in the north, because that's chilly. If you live in the south, I guess it'd be like 40 or 50. That would be cold for you. I don't know. So they do not have a license or a car, so they're not able to get themselves somewhere. At the same time, you have a 12-year-old who is finishing a mandatory project at school. Doesn't matter what it is, they have to be at school. At the same time, you told them that you would call at 7:30 with pickup plans when you were done jogging. Now you're going outside of town to a place where you regularly go, either walking or jogging or running or whatever. And when you get off this path, you don't have really good cell phone coverage. So when you get off the path, you are going to call them. But when you get to your car, you find a flat tire and your cell phone is dead and the parking lot is empty. What is your solution? All right, this is just a story solution, but think through, what would you do? How would you get a hold of the kids? There's no payphone, obviously. You're out by yourself. You're in the middle of nowhere. You have a car with a flat tire. You have a cell phone that's not working. You have kids that are expecting to hear from you. Neither one knows how to get a hold of you. They're going to call you and get voicemail and not you. You can't get a hold of them, so you can't get any kind of backup. And for the sake of this scenario, envision that your spouse is out of town or inaccessible for whatever reason. What would you do? I don't have a solution. My purpose in saying this is, think through this scenario. As a parent, you've probably thought about contingency plans, plan Bs, what you would do, because your kids are so important. So if this thing happened, what would be your backup? What I'm saying is you need to start doing this in the other areas of your life as well. You need to start thinking through, if costs go up beyond what I'm making, what is my backup plan? If my car doesn't run, what is my backup plan? This has been the key to my success, and it came out of when we didn't have vehicles that worked. I literally went a few years where I did not know, when I put my key in the ignition, whether I would have a working vehicle or not. And that meant whether I was at home trying to take the kids someplace, or I was someplace trying to get home. I had 4 kids, which meant they wouldn't fit in most cars. And because of a law that had been passed in my state recently, all but one of them had to be either in some form of a booster seat. So most people's cars couldn't accommodate my children. So I didn't have any kind of help with people with carpooling. I was a homeschool mom out in the country, and I would go into town for specific things. My husband worked an hour away, and my closest family member was over an hour away. So I had to think through these things. You have similar things in your life. So look at a problem that you are facing or you fear could come, and take the time, even if it's 30 minutes, to think through and rework and rethink what you would do in those situations and scenarios. This isn't about fear, this is about power. Start to think about what you would need to have as a backup, what you would need to know how to do. If you didn't know how to change a tire and you relied on some kind of a car service, what's that called? Motor club, you would be in a world of hurt. So in my scenario, it might be something as simple as, oh, I had learned how to change a tire. I knew how to do it really fast. And so I quickly changed out my tire. I always checked my spare. I don't know, every month I checked my spare to make sure that it wasn't flat and that I had all the parts in there. And so it was no big deal. And I dealt with it when I got in town. Or I always have my, like a solar powered charger. My husband always carries this little cell phone charger that's solar powered. It's a bank, a battery bank or whatever. So think through those and tell me some scenarios that you've thought through and your solutions in the comments below. And on my next video, I will be telling you about some other situations. And instead of encouraging you to think about it, I'm going to give you some actual practical solutions to it. So I hope you've enjoyed this mental exercise. I hope you'll use this technique to walk through a lot of scenarios and things that we may be facing. Instead of hiding and complaining, we can really be empowered for change. I will see you on the next video. Bye.